Hey, Sean here from SpeedCubeReview.com. I saw something that I really wanted to get, which is the Rubik's Build It, Solve It. And this, let me move my mouse out of the way. This is the Rubik's Speed Cube, but you put it all together. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, the main reason is so you can set it up as you go along. There used to be what was often called the DIY kits. And actually, let me go grab one of the puzzles. This was my DIY kit, a 55mm Diane Zanchi. And so when I got it, actually there were pieces that weren't molded correctly, so I had to get replacement parts. Luckily, the place I bought it from just sent those over. And you put it all together from scratch. Well, I also already have the Rubik's Cube and the Rubik's Speed Cube. Now, one thing from looking at the box, unless it's just not labeled, there's no lubrication in here. And which bothers me a little bit because I already did a video where I did it unlubricated, unset up, just out of the box Rubik's brand, not even the Speed Cube, and compared it to a top of the line $60 Speed Cube, the GAN SM at the time, which I'll put that video below because that was a really fun video. And so if this one doesn't have lubrication, I am going to use lubrication from Speed Cube Shop and all these fun things to make sure it is set up amazingly well. And we'll see how this goes. So let's open this up. I have not opened it yet, but I wish DIY kits, returned. A couple things would be really cool about them. One, they could give maybe a little bit of lubrication, or just if it's stickered, come with different stickers. Or if it's stickerless, maybe have a few extra tiles so that way you could do white on one side, or it'll have like a set of black, something like that. That way it might, save a lot of time at the factory too. So we've got the parts, we've got the solution guide. Okay. And yeah, no lubrication in here. But we've got, let's see here, the core, these plastic tabs, which I don't know what that is for. The center edge pieces, tiles, interesting organization, green and white, orange and blue, red and yellow. I'm curious, what are those white parts there? Well, I guess I might as well just follow the instructions. And where am I going to put lubrication? Well, mainly on the springs and the pieces. You don't want to put lubrication on, whoa, almost lost that, on screws because that will just allow it to unscrew more easily. So the first thing it says to do is to put a spring in one of those white pieces into the core, into the center. So let's open this up. This is the core to the Rubik's brand Speed Cube. And let's see here. So it wants a spring. Where did the springs go? So a spring and then one of those plastic pieces. Oh, I see. This is, so we have the ball core, but then we have the rods that need to stick out of the core. And it's interesting that the springs are then inside of the core. These are very light springs. This needs to stick out like this, it looks like. Yep, we got to do that to all the sides. So that will stick out like that. Oh, interesting. So they can't really pop out because they attach to each other like that. So now before I connect everything together, I'm going to put some lubrication on these springs. What lubrication am I going to use? I'm going to use good old Vortex, which is a spring lubrication from Speed Cube Shop that has a graphite type smell to it. And it's specifically used for like metal against plastic. These two springs are connected. Let's undo that connection. That's the springs are connected song. I could put lubrication on the springs before I put them on here, but nothing is really hidden except for that bottom one. So maybe I should have done that. Before I move any farther, let's do some of this. And all I'm going to do is just put a little dot right on the edge right here. There's a little blue tip that I could add on that will make it a little less, or a little more accurate. But this is perfectly fine like this for me. I'm not worried about being super accurate. And click. There it is. Awesome. Okay, so the core is set and there's springs inside of the core. Now, we'll take a screw and the caps. Where are the caps? Or the centers, I mean. Now, I believe I did see on the box that said that they give a couple extra pieces in case something gets lost. So springs are really good to have a couple extras of. That's one thing that multiple times while putting together a puzzle, I've had a spring like fly off on me and be really hard to find. And there has been times where I've lost a spring and it just never showed up again. I think that was in my Xanchi 2x2 that happened. It flew off somewhere, never found it again. I like vacuumed up my whole office and everything and checked the vacuum. Wasn't anything in there, so I don't know what happened to it. Let's see here. Do I just click them in place? Yep, it says click. That's a click. That is very satisfying. It's very satisfying. So one thing that I feel could improve the Rubik's one is just removing the ball core, and that will allow the stalks to be larger, which will give it more room for the pieces to flex. Once I get 4 pieces in, 3 edges and 1 corner, I can set it down a little bit and add some lubrication. Actually, let's assemble it a little bit more. If you are new to lubricating puzzles, well, first off, no, puzzles don't need lubrication, but I'm going to do that because I'm setting this up. So there's different things you can do. And since I don't know what I really want just yet, I'm going to use Nebula from Speedcube Shop. That's one of my favorite lubricants. That's very, I'd say, middle of the road. And you can just sort of add it to some of the pieces, maybe between the pieces and on this track here. And that should honestly do it, because as you move it around, it says often like 3 to 4 drops. So I don't know how many drops that was. Okay, still very loose, but it's staying much more together. So I think for the rest of this, we'll just have a voiceover on the solves. And getting to these solves, it was quite interesting. Even on the tightest tensions, it was very, very loose. I had a corner twist, I had a pretty massive pop of a piece, so kind of interesting, not at all what I was expecting. And overall, I was not super excited about the performance. CFOP did work a lot better than Rue, and my first solve you saw there was actually kind of nice. After I did some solves on it, I wanted to go and check out the original Rubik's brand that's not the Speedcube version, the one that I used a couple years ago out of the box. I still haven't done any adjustment to it, and it was a little bit nicer, being more stable, but actually harder to do Rue with. So if you're going to do Rue, I guess get the Speedcube version of it. After that, though, I needed a palette cleanser, and so I just grabbed the 55mm Xanchi and did a couple solves there, and then I grabbed the Waylon WRM and did a couple on there. So overall, this is an interesting puzzle. Not something I would recommend anyone get unless they are looking to just have some fun with a Rubik's brand puzzle. It's definitely not something I would ever compete with, and personally, if I was going to use a Rubik's brand, I would use the standard one you can buy in most stores over this one. And Rubik's does have the one that's a little bit nicer on their website that's kind of based off the GAN 356 design. But thank you very much for watching. I'll put a link in the description where you can get this if you really want to. It's definitely a novelty thing. I do miss that sort of DIY aspect of Cube though, so hopefully that does come back in the future. I really do enjoy that part of it. Thank you again for watching. Leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Hit like, subscribe for more content like this in the future, and as always, stop by speedpbview.com for more news and reviews.